Well, good morning, and as you can see today I'm starting my video from Waterloo Station, and the reason for that is because I was in such a rush to get on the train at Bentley. I literally didn't have time to film an introduction, but we are here and we are off to Nottinghamshire today, to near Mansfield, where I'm collecting a Suzuki Jimny from Robin Hood's old stomping ground. So hopefully there'll be some interesting things to see along the way, a little bit of a different vehicle to collect today. Thank you very much for joining me. So the plan is I've got to head from here at Waterloo to King's Cross, where I'm going to get on a train to Newark Northgate. The customer is meeting me at Newark Northgate. It's very kind of him to do that because it's a bit of a drive from Mansfield, and I'll be collecting the Suzuki Jimny and heading back home to West Sussex. We are now off to King's Cross on the tube.
Please mind the doors.
Just boarding my train at King's Cross now, and this should be my last train of the day, so relatively nice and simple journey really. This should take me all the way to Newark Northgate, and I shall see you there. Hello, well, you joined me a bit later on. It's just gone 2 p.m. and I'm outside the parish church of St Mary in Edwinstowe, and this is apparently the church where Robin Hood and Maid Marian got married, so I am well and truly in Robin Hood country. But before we investigate the local surroundings a little bit further, let me also show you around the vehicle we've just bought. It is a Suzuki Jimny, a 2016. It's done 33,000 miles. And this is actually the second one of these that I've collected. The first one I drove all the way from Newcastle upon Tyne back down to Hampshire. So yeah, I just think they're characterful, fun little vehicles. In fact, let me just show you the inside. So here we are. This one has full leather interior, no less. You've also got, here you go, electronically selectable four-wheel drive right there, 5-speed manual. But these are popular little cars. I think they've certainly got their fan base. A lot of people love Jimneys. Well, I didn't think we could come to Robin Hood's old stomping ground without venturing at least a little bit into Sherwood Forest. So I am heading off into Sherwood Forest in search of the major oak, which is one of the most famous and one of the oldest trees in the UK. Well, we're now entering Sherwood Forest. It's around 1,000 acres in size today, but it's a lot smaller than it used to be. I've just read that it used to be over 100,000 acres in size. Well, I've made it to the major oak, and here it is. What a magnificent tree it is. Now this is at least 800 years old, this tree, and could be up to about 1,100 years old. But I don't think anyone knows exactly how old this tree is. Legend has it, of course, that this tree provided shelter for Robin Hood and his band of merry men. We also know that the girth of the trunk is around about 11 metres. The scaffolding has been there since about the 1970s, I think. Unfortunately, obviously, the sheer number of visitors to this tree over the years was beginning to take its toll on such an old tree. So unfortunately, it does need to be fenced off and held up by scaffolding now. It's amazing to see it. It must be one of the oldest oak trees in the UK. At least 800 years old, possibly well over 1,000 years old. It wasn't difficult to walk here from Edwinstowe either. I'm a brisk walker, but it only took me about 15 minutes or so to walk in from the village where I parked the Jimny. I'm here off season, of course. It's the end of February at the moment, so there aren't that many people around, but I'd imagine during summer months this is a really nice place to come and have a picnic or spot a lunch with families and children. What a beautiful, amazing old tree. As you may be able to see, the tree itself sits in a clearing, which might to some extent explain why it's been able to grow to such a great size, because it hasn't had other trees and things to compete with around it. And people aren't entirely sure why it's the width it is, the giant size it is, but it's possible that when it first grew, several saplings kind of fused together and grew as one giant tree. Now I should be organised, shouldn't I? And at this time I should be able to tell you how far it is I've got to drive back home. But I'll admit I don't know, and I haven't got any phone reception, but it's a long way. I'm near Mansfield in Nottinghamshire, in the depth of Sherwood Forest. I'd imagine it's around about 150, 200 miles. I'll put it on the screen here. That's how far I'm driving home. So I'd better head off. But it's been wonderful to see the major oak, to explore a little bit of Sherwood Forest. And now, so begins my journey back home to West Sussex. I've just found out that because Sherwood Forest is very much in the centre of the country here in Nottinghamshire, it's got an interesting mixture of southern and northern species of tree, many of which are ancient trees. So when trees reach a certain age, they're classified as ancient. Obviously the major oak is most certainly an ancient tree at well over 800 years old. But as I said, the forest has really reduced drastically in size over the years, so it's great to see that there's quite a bit of work going on to preserve the woodland as it is now. Here we are, back outside Sherwood Forest. Well, they're obviously very proud of the Robin Hood heritage around here. There's all sorts of little Robin Hood bits and pieces to see, so to speak. This statue is to commemorate the first time Robin Hood met Little John, and they fought on the bridge, and Little John knocked Robin off the bridge, and Robin Hood was so impressed with his bravery that he asked him to join his band of merry men. Asked him to join the outlaws. Well, I've just had some lunch and a cup of tea at the cafe here at the edge of Sherwood Forest. But now I think it is time to get going. Right, here we go. Bit cramped, isn't it? I can put the seat back a little bit actually. Here we go. To be fair, there we go. What I will say about the Jimny though, what I really like about this vehicle is because it's more of a kind of old school design, I can look around everywhere and there's just windows. I can see any direction I look so clearly, and it's so narrow as well. You can just drive this down little country roads and it's actually really good fun to drive. I actually really like the Jimny. Right, let's head off, shall we? Hello, well it's 8:15 and I'm back home. Had a relatively trouble-free journey, so all that's left to do now is just to take the Jimny into TMC tomorrow morning, and then I'm heading off again on my next collection. Well, hello again. You joined me the following morning back in the Jimny on my way into TMC. I thought for a bit of a change I might do a bit of a road test and just talk about what the Jimny's like to drive. So first things first, obviously I'm quite tall, and for someone like me, I'm 6'4", it's not the ideal driving position. You can see I'm quite close to the steering wheel. There's not an awful lot of adjustment in the seat. I can't put it back any further than this. I feel kind of quite up close to the steering wheel. Having driven it almost 200 miles yesterday as well, I can tell you, being a 5-speed, it feels like it needs that extra gear. It feels like it needs a 6th gear. At 70 miles an hour, you're doing almost 4,000 RPM. So it's a little bit manic on the motorways. But it hasn't missed a beat. It's been brilliant. It's driven really nicely. And it is fun. Like, despite the size, it is actually fun to drive. And what you've got to remember is that it's an old design. The design dates back to the 1990s, around about 1998, I think, when this generation of Jimny was first introduced. And here we are in a 2016 model, almost 20 years later, and they're still building them. But I actually really like them. So dating back to the 90s obviously means that it's an older design, and I think actually that gives it some advantages. For a start, there's so much glass all around you. Everywhere you look, there's excellent visibility. I really like that. You've got nice big door mirrors as well, which I really like. It's a little bit more of a fidgety driving experience. You wouldn't expect it to be up to the same levels as modern vehicles, and it was never designed to be anything more than it is, which is a fun little off-road vehicle that you can use every day perfectly easily as well. And these are, I mean, I've never taken one of these off-road, but these are actually supposed to be really good off-road, and you've got electronically selectable four-wheel drive, including low ratio. It's got good ground clearance. It's quite a compact vehicle. It's quite narrow. It's fun to drive it along little country roads, as I am doing now. You can just trundle along quite easily, and I'm so used to driving these enormous great pickup trucks and vans and things along these same roads. Suddenly it's like it's so much easier. It's just so narrow. It's not a particularly settled ride, and it's not very fast, but none of that matters. It's got personality, and I like the Jimny. I actually enjoy driving the Jimny. It's kind of a happy sounding vehicle as well. It makes a nice happy noise as you drive it. Whee! Yeah, I can quite see why the Jimny's got its fan base. They're just a fun, lovable little off-road vehicle. Here we are, back at TMC. And I'm heading out again in a moment. On my next collection, I'm going down to the south coast to Seaford. I will park the Jimny up at the back here for the time being. It's going to need a fresh MOT and valeting. But yeah, all good. Here we are, back at TMC Oak Hanger.